Welcome back to New Realities. I'm Mount Steinfeld, and again, I have a very amazing guest who has so much to share, so much wisdom. She's going to be part of a great conference coming up called the Sedona Ascension Retreats. Welcome back, Vivianne Chauvet, a good friend. We spent some amazing time in Egypt together. Vivianne, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Alan, thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure to be in your presence. And yes, we are friends and above and beyond, and not only from this earth, but also from the stars. So it's exciting to share with you.
Well, can you tell if I'm from the stars with you, or how do you would you know if you looked at someone? Do you get a feeling? How do you know where?
There's a certain frequency, or I would say a certain vibrational signature about someone that has carried the characteristic or the energetic presence of a star group. And I can tell also more than that, Alan, there's a soul presence or a soul essence exchange. That's, for example, with you, Alan, when I feel that what you do, what you've been influential in so many years on the bookmaking contact, everybody you've been interviewing for years, you can tell that it is part of your soul blueprint. You come almost like a liaison, and you bring back all of these beautiful spirit and knowledge connection. So it's very palpable. And I would say the more you evolve, the more you expand even in yourself, the more that natural aspect of you is coming through and it's becoming very palpable. And I'm sure that there's maybe others who perceive it and see it.
Thank you. That's so nice of you to say that. I'm just doing what I'm doing, and maybe yes, it's having an effect or influence. I want to just tell people in the beginning of the show, because you don't know how long people watch, is that we are going to be part of a fantastic gathering of people coming up. See that on your screen there? This is coming up March 8th to the 10th. And Vivian is being joined, and me with some, oh, you're down at the bottom of the screen there. Bashar is going to be there, Anita Morjani, Linda Moulton Howe, William Henry, Vivianne Chauvet, Brad Olson. I'm looking here, Wendy Kennedy. So it's a combination of, I think, high spiritual teachings mixed in with people like Vivianne Bashar talking about galactic awareness, and Matt Kahn doing practical healing stuff, practical consciousness stuff, along with JJ and Desiree Hurtak, and a bunch of near-death experiencers who have connected to the other side. And what are you going to be doing there, Vivianne?
Well, thank you for asking, Alan. So I'm going to be also on the Galactic Council panel with hosted by Ruben Langdon. So I'm going to be on panel, and that thanks to Suzanne. So I want to publicly recognize Suzanne Ross. She's the one who decided to put me on the panel. We're also going to do on Sunday an amazing workshop called Intergalactic DNA Ancestry. And also we're going to bring in the Arcturian 13-dimensional light frequency, or the 13-dimensional realm. And what does it mean is that we're going to really explore deeply the new DNA structures that we're moving into, and how there are several point of reconnection points within the interstellar genetic markers, and how these markers are coming back more to be active. And that it means is that those markers refer to the intergalactic DNA ancestry that the human race truly carry in themselves. So we're going to be working on a multidimensional level. Plus, Alan, the beauty on this workshop on Sunday is that Sunday will be the day of the ancestors. So I'm going to honor all the ancestors and the Aboriginal tribes, and we're going to do its opening sacred space with an ancient Peruvian prayer that will call upon the four directions. And we're going to keep the sacred space open, and then I'm going to close the space using the same protocol at the end of the workshop. So it's really going to be a celestial journey, celebration of our star ancestry, and rekindling with these profound aspects of ourselves. And I feel this is part of being the new quantum human, and the human being in complete evolution. And it's really time that we
One second,
embrace that.
Well, no, I just want to say for people wanting to come to this, it's March 8th to the 10th in Sedona, Arizona. Get tickets at ascensionretreats.com. And then I just want to continue what you're saying here. But yeah, hope to see everyone there. Fantastic lineup. No, I like what you were saying there. So I want to go into that in today's discussion, these ancestral activations of the potential, because now we're in a new time. Everyone feels it. We've passed through the kind of a portal of the last 3 years, which was a real contraction. Now we're opening up to something bigger. So, Vivianne, I want to hear you go into detail, not to give all your workshop away, but the kind of things you'll be doing and maybe even a little activation here, because you gave an incredible activation when I was sitting right with you at the Sphinx in Egypt. That was powerful. And so let's talk about it, and then maybe we could finish with a little activation if you want. So
Yeah, absolutely. With pleasure, Alan. I'm always happy. This is what I'm here on the planet for. I'm really helping humanity to reach the next leap of conscious, but also deep quantum DNA activation level. And this is more than just activating your DNA. This is first a deep recognition that an acceptance that you are a galactic royalties, in a sense that through the human original template, your DNA was really encoded with so many intergalactic genetic markers, whether it's from the Pleiadians, whether it's from other groups at certain stages of your evolution. So think of it this way. It's like a accumulation point, the culmination point of where you're coming onto your planet after the 26,000 years of cycle and all of these cycles you've gone through, you moving into that reintegration that will allow you to accelerate as potent catalysts of reascension evolution for you to finally return into the human celestial original template. And the DNA is a huge key factor, but it's also, Alan, the consciousness that comes with it. Because it's very important for people to understand that, like, oh, if I activate my DNA, then I'll be enlightened and I'll ascend. Well, yes, it will bring you in that direction, but at the same time, there's a willingness and a practice that comes with it as well, if that makes sense.
it makes sense, total sense, but give us a little clues how we can activate it and what would the practice be, because I think everyone wants to raise their vibration. And
Yes.
could you give us a little piece? I know you're going to go much deeper in Sedona, but yes, as much as you can.
All right. So absolutely. So just to give you a taste, if you look at the premise of the double helix or the double strand of your DNA, and the rest of it being disconnected or junk or simply put on the side, what happened is that there's almost like a mutation taking place, consciously a mutation taking place. Think of it as a magnet of conscious energy on a quantum level that is taking place into the DNA template. What it means is that if you accept that your cells or the network of your cells communicate on a quantum level itself and shift and start to expand and carry more light, more frequencies, new codes, well, it's the same premise with your DNA. So can you imagine for a moment just taking one double strand and really starting to understand on a multidimensional level that one strand, there is a multidimensional counterpart to it. So we're already moving beyond the double strand. I mean, it's like four strands coming together. So there is that aspect on a quantum level, that multidimensional aspect of one strand, it's starting to form itself, it communicate, it activate even in the codons, certain markers that we call your interstellar ancestry are there. So it means it helps you to shift in consciousness, starting to get in tune with certain abilities, gift, memories. Can you imagine accessing the language, the information that is encoded in your DNA, starting to be more conscious about understanding the language of your DNA? Think of it this way. Do you feel it from?
love what you're saying, and I think you're right. There is more access, there's more dimensional
Yeah.
access to our DNA, but how do we access this? I mean, there's potential, but how would you suggest we start to tune into those levels? Because I think that can help with healing, with, energy, with communication, all that. So yes, thanks. Tell us.
No, absolutely. It can be also activating your own healing abilities or even rekindling with your telepathic communication faculties. It helps you to really shift out of that heavy carbon-based 3D basic structure that you've been told you are. So things you can do to really be in tune, it's really going to be clear your mind is if you're too much mental and analyzing everything and you're filtering everything heavily through the safety of your logic 3D mind, well, the mind will get in loops to start to grasp, well, what is the DNA? And then you want to look it up and you look at the definition and all of it. And we say, okay, that's just an introduction door. But beyond that, there's another bigger doorway, if you want. There's a pathway that is already encoded in you. So what you can do, make it simple. Bring the intention with clarity and decisive energy that you are reconnecting with the internal pathway that is encoded in me. And I'm allowing, imagine this doorway or this gateway of consciousness reopening that allow a natural flow to this pathway within you, going through your heart, and then connect to the intelligence field of your DNA. It can be something through your I am presence. I now choose to consciously connect to the intelligent field of my DNA. Show me, reveal to me. But now when you sit there, if your mind goes, well, I feel nothing. And then I think about the grocery list and what I need to do tomorrow and things like that. Then you get caught up again in the mental entrapment of the logic mind. It's okay. There's no need to be angry or get impatient with yourself. Show yourself great compassion. Go again, going, that's right.
Sitting there, you're bringing that in. But what I also want to add, what makes this time different than other times is the fact that the vibration of the earth and the where we are in the cosmos is making it easier to connect with those other levels. Is that true on your side?
It is very true. Now, what you're talking about, Alan, is the countermatch of the other world. And that's so what we talked about a moment ago is more how to harmonize your inner reality. Now, the other reality is also more facilitating this kind of connection. Why? It's because we have entered this year what the Arcturian calls a triple gateway of acceleration. That means that through your linear calendar time, the next 3 years alone are decisive in terms of the reascension. For the Earth herself, there's a new grid system coming through, which will be working more this year through different travel and different work. We're going to facilitate or be the facilitators with Gaia to implement these new grid system. We mean that for you personally and as a race, you're being much more supported. Things going to accelerate palpably, whether it's manifestation, desire, opening, connection, understanding. The field, it become much more fertile for you to do so. And there's a greater harmonization is coming through the planet, not right now, but it's coming in, which is going to be more supportive of that too.
Well, in a way, that's why you're here. I mean, people may not know, but, and I feel a little strange saying it, but you weren't born on this planet, is what you
No,
say.
no.
But that's, I mean, I believe you, but it's hard for actually, I mean, yeah, people might not accept that, but the fact that you've come here at this time for this reason, and you're also learning some human lessons as well. But do you want to give a little background of where you came from and really why you're here? I mean, it's a part of this ascension frequency, but yeah, I mean, it's very interesting where you say you're from. So just a little bit, because I want people to know that because it's so unusual.
Well, thank you, Ellen. And unusual is a big compliment for me, so I'll take it. If you accept the teaching of Lee Carroll to Cryon or Bashar to Darryl Anka, what's the difference of accepting a being in front of you? It does no difference anymore. So quickly, about my background, I am an Arcturian being, and I chose a long time ago as the potential, the highest potential of reascension for the Earth. We're coming into alignment. I ask the Council of Elders to construct a vessel, or we call this an holographic matrix or a template capable of sustaining biofield and consciousness. I asked to have a conduit or a vessel, a body, so that I can come back in these fields, so I can be on the planet and bring the next frequency. So for X amount of years, ever since I came back to this planet, Alan, I have been helping shifting the planet to the next level every time you move into a contraction or an expansion that's been going on. So as an Arcturian being in this humanized, adaptable human hybrid form, this is how I chose to serve the Creator and the Earth in this lifetime. In reality, my role is for the future timeline. It always have been. But in the meantime, I have been preparing humanity step by step to move through certain stages of lessons, or I would say evolution, historical stages. And I've been helping humanity to evolve step by step. Now, the depth of my work is coming. Again, I'm here for the future timeline. In other words, I am here to assure that this Earth is returning into her ascendant form. And it needs to. And I would say the bridge of the 3D reality as you've known it, the bridge is very thin right now. So this year is going to be the year where your consciousness will make the difference between what reality you're going to be allowed to continue evolve into. But it's very important to understand that your consciousness will lead the pathway for you individually, while also the majority on the vibrational level, on the global level as well. But the Earth is ready, and so ready or not, here she comes. And this is where we're so very active, we're much more present. We have increased and shift our frequency transmission, our teachings, our messages have evolved because it is time.
Well, let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind, about the future timelines, your future work. I mean, just to prepare people for where you're going to be as things start to accelerate, as ETs become more and more present in the culture. What does your work look like in the future?
Well, to explore just an aspect of it, it's going to be more than that. Well, I can tell you that recently, I already saw that I'm going to be writing a very specific series of books that has nothing to do with the knowledge that's been presented so far. We're going to bring it to the next level. There's some aspect of our own spherical archives that I'm going to be allowed to start to remember and downloads in form of teachings. There's a new form of program I'm going to put together more training, more access around training, rather than reinforcing the one-on-one sessions and the healing aspect. We want to teach you new ways, new techniques, new knowledge to really accelerate significantly your own abilities and start to really awaken very much ancient part of you. And we're going to also create new opportunities. And one of my goals that I really want to do, it's opening an academy, a training center where I want to travel worldwide and bring the teaching to everywhere. And reunifying all the cultures. It's time to reunify this planet, this world. There's been enough separation, enough conflict based on diversity, the way you talk, the way you look, your skin color, where you grew up. This is obsolete. It is outdated. And this is just a way of the 3D matrix reality to control you. It's time to come back into a more reunify. And that unification, it's going to really lead the way for evolution-wise, for all life. And talking about also the animal kingdom, the planet herself, the ecosystem, everybody. It's going to be very important.
Oh, it's very exciting. I mean, you can feel it. Even the government is getting ready to disclose that we're not alone. I mean, they sort of have. And so, do you have a timeline prediction for when we'll really be interfacing with the people you're from and other ETs, and how will that look, you think? So, what's your timeline? Yeah.
Well, think of it this way. It's moving through the veil. So your planet is covered in history, monuments, writings, whether it's, books, Sanskrit, all of it. Your world is covered with true history. So the government structures and the aspect of what we call the dark light polarity, that is dissolving. So the timeline that we're looking at as a potential, because everything shifts tremendously. We talked about the triple gateway earlier, and I would say in that sense, Alan, the next 3 years, including this year, so 24, 25, 26, are going to be really instrumental in that sense. And you're going to redefine on the quantum level how you communicate with each other. Some linguistic or semantic words will shift, like the word disclosure, which become much more normalized. It's become more part of the exchange, and we're removing certain veils of separation between the ET communities who've been communicating through their star seeds, their own people on the ground, whether through channels, teachers. It's no longer a dream. It's no longer just a shadow or an impression. It's becoming more renormalized. Think of it as like the Aboriginal tribes, the Hopi, Navarro, the Zuni nations, and the other great Aboriginal tribe around the world. It's part of their oral tradition. It's normal, right?
Right. Do you think the ETs will walk among us? I mean, you're here, but will they be in their form, like their true ET form? Are we ready for that?
You're getting ready, and I'll tell you one factor around it. This is a fantastic question, Alan. This is part of your both conscious and genetic shift evolution. It's releasing certain markers in your DNA that dictate the fear energy around anything that looks different than a human. If anything comes to you that looks different than you, then there's a fear that comes in. That's an old program put in place to separate you from your own galactic ancestry. So that fear is shifting more and more. So there are those on the intergalactic groups who have the capacity to physically be more present on the planet. But for those of us who vibrate such a high level, we can be there with you and it will look solid to you. But in reality, we're going to be here in our holographic light body projection, because being on the planet in a density field, it's too much energy. So there will be a lot of direct contact or direct interaction, but it has to be from one consciousness to a higher consciousness and two equal coming together, and not one fearing the others.
Well, that's something I've been really working on. I've been writing another book, and some groups, and I'm sure you're aware of, have the ability to come right into our consciousness, come right into our dreams, manipulate our thoughts and feelings for I don't know what purpose. I mean, maybe that's not what you're concerned with, but we need to find a way to develop our mental capacity, like you said, to meet these beings on an even playing field, because right now, what people are afraid of is losing control. And there is a lot of history. If you look at the abductions scenario, I'm sure you're aware of that, right? It may not be your experience, because there are thousands of people who were traumatized because ETs have come into their thought form realities, manipulated them, controls them. So how's that going to work out in the future? What do you see as how we meet these beings, yours, theirs, all on an even playing field, so we become masters of our own mind and destiny in a sense? What do you suggest?
That's a fantastic observation, and we understand that there are those who have little interest in seeing you evolving. They prefer to, you know, manipulate your thoughts so they can see what they can get out of you and things like that. Believe me, we've encountered them in many other planets. Arcturians, we are millions of years old, so we have been around the block quite a bit and we understand that. But this is exactly why I chose to be here, and there's so much direct enlightenment and positive, I would say, support system is to reteach you to understand the mechanism of your own mind. This is also tied up to what we talked about a moment ago about releasing the fear gene or the encoded right in your DNA that tells you have to fear your gods and obedience and being able to, be worthy and all of it, instead of teaching you the map that this is part of who you are. This is all the gift that you have. This is the potential that you carry. And we will simply help you remembering how to do that. But simple ways to do this, Alan, is every day monitor your thought forms. Where are you? Are you so much deep engaged into a logic way of thinking because it's been safe for you? Or are you allowing these higher mental faculties to really bridge yourself with the even spark, the essence of who you are right in your heart, in cultivating your space that way? So you can practice even on a 3D level, decision making. Situation comes to you, a being comes to your dream. Well, first thing, use the protocols. Ask them, are you of the higher light? You have no authority over me. You have no permission, is or no. Now, those who have been experiencing what you spoke of, Alan, it's complicated in a sense that a lot of them, there are soul contract and agreement made in certain level. In others, yes, it is purely intrusive. Most likely, based on my experience working with thousands of people worldwide, is either there's a genetic predisposition or it's part of the lineage or the bloodline that's why it perpetuates itself. So this is why I want to make the distinction here that it's not just people dramatize, ETs are coming to take over. It's more complex. There's many shades of grays and all of that, if that makes sense.
That upon many shades of gray. Talk about little it is many shades. But and I teach remote viewing because I know that consciousness is an application. It's something we can shift, and we need to raise what we think is possible. I agree with what you're saying. So we can know our own minds better. Our minds are fantastic tools, and we didn't even know how to operate them. We didn't even know we could send thoughts to each other, that everyone is telepathic. Everyone picks up on a non-local consciousness. And I think this may be what some of the ETs are actually trying to show us, maybe in a backhanded way, by taking our or influencing our consciousness. But we're at a turning point where we have to understand the power of our own thoughts and minds, and what the psyche really is as a multidimensional tool, and how do they operate from where you're coming from with the people that or the beings, not even people, how do they operate their mind gear on your place?
Yes, where I come from originally, from an intergalactic perspective, we have achieved a high level of mastery over our minds. So we agree with you, Alan, in the sense that what has been concealed from you is the very essence of your power, which makes sense for those who wants to control. We come and says, no, no, no. You have great mastery of your mind, but that comes with spiritual maturity, conscious application and a well direction, in a sense that a willingness to follow or to refollow, and that is in place with you. So where we come from, our minds is a place of wonder. We can, just to give you a taste, we have the ability to come together in complete unison and navigate an entire mothership through the faculties of our thought form projection, connected with organic component that connects us to the ship, and together, and we can project any points or coordinates in the multiverse, and everything redirect, and we can get to that point with ease and grace. So imagine the level of faculties and discipline it requires to do that. But the Arcturians, we are well known for our mental faculties. We also, the way we communicate. When I go on board a ship, Alan, nobody calls me Vivianne. This is my earthly identity. Nobody calls me this way. What they do, what they do is they welcome me back, and they always remind me, remember, you're one of us. You're so engaged in your mission that you get yourself convinced of this identity, but remember, you're one of us. And the first thing they do, I have my Arcturian father, and as a group assigned to me, we are in this beautiful, what we call holographic telepathic exchange, which means we are exchanging an aspect of our soul essence to each other, and everything is conveyed in such a magnificent way. There's no confusion, there's no misinterpretation, there's no filters, there's no interference of any kind. It's the purity of conveying with each other an aspect of our soul essence. And it's done at the speed of thought. It is really much the speed of thought.
Well, do you think humans have the capacity? I mean, do we have encoded the capability of doing what you just described, or are we not evolved enough? I mean, I think we can do it. What do you think?
Well, the potential is there. But what we do, and the way the Arcturian communicate, you're going to need a little bit more evolution to get to that point. The potential is there. Now, what you do have is the ability to shift out of this complex 3D verbal linguistic way of exchanging thoughts, concept and ideas and emotion, and start to reactivate the faculties of your telepathic communication exchange. And that means also the telepathic receptivity that comes with it in the field, and being able to exchange with each other that way. Now I know this is absolutely a reality that is now. Now from there, it can evolve even more. That's the beauty of it. Well, everything will continue to evolve from there. But I know that, and we know collectively, that is absolutely part of the potential. But Alan, you touched something important, is rediscovering the mental faculties, which has nothing to do with the pre-programmed 3D logic mind. You may call it the ego. We call it the 3D logic mind. That has nothing to do with this. It's far beyond. So this is a huge turning point, again, that we see coming more, and that's going to facilitate also more higher consciousness connecting with other cosmic higher consciousness that you call the ETs of your star brothers and sisters. And they can see you for who you are. You know, when I am part of my delegation, or sometimes we go with on other ship, like recently I was on a Pleiadian ship with my group. When the ET look at me, they never call me a human. They call me an Arcturian. They know exactly who I am. They recognize me as an ancient being. I'm thousands of years old. They know who I am. They understand the importance of my earthly mission. So this is why, as we start to recognize each other more, we're going beyond also these 3D identity that you two took on to live this life, bring in your frequency, activate your soul purpose, your soul mission, and do this work. But remember that when you connect with these beautiful intelligence that includes you, there's a bigger, deeper soul recognition with each other. And like we recognize each other. We know.
No, I get it. No, that's beautiful what you're saying, and I really appreciate it. And I'll throw out a question. I don't even know if it's true, but some people say there's been a matrix, a false matrix, put over this planet and over our minds that don't allow us to access that multidimensional mind communication. Is that true? And what can we do about it? Because I think we can do some things about it. So what do you think?
Is there a third dimensional matrix linear reality that's been put onto the earth to preserve the earth in a certain stage of conscious evolution or limited evolution? Yes. Can that be also implied that it has retracted your mental faculties down to a 3D logic mind that feels more in sync with that false matrix, false projection, belief system, and programming? Of course. Do you have the authority in you to counteract it? Oh, absolutely, 100%. There's never been any doubt in our intergalactic perspective. Now, the key factor is that you have to be as convinced as we are. Okay? So what does it mean? Is be convinced of your power and your authority.
How do we overthrow the matrix, basically, that has kept people very limited thinking, making war, creating awful things, being, and we all get sucked into it because we're in the field. So we all have to be as conscious, as aware as possible. But what's one way you can suggest people overcome the confining thought form realities we've been subjected to?
I'm going to answer into a beautiful 3D way that everybody can relate to. Stop playing the game. So if I plug you into a very virtual, convincing video games that gets you all of your energy, your attention, your faculties, the best of you, engaged in it, and it's addictive and it's emotional, and you get attachments to it, to characters, storyline, and everything, it is the same thing. When you start to go, I'm releasing myself from feeding that reality and playing that game, you're starting to realize that you can start living in parallel to it. Now, I am a prime example of this, Alan. How can I retain to be who I am, do my work, and still function so we can be on time for the interview, so I can be on time for Susan Ross, Sedona retreat, be on stage when she needs me to? How do I do that? That's because I understand the mechanism behind the 3D matrix reality. I'm able to be adaptable, to be functioning, while retaining also the connection to the higher part of myself, and without being completely absorbed by the 3D matrix reality. And that is an important key.
Well, yeah, I get that, but I think maybe, and I can't say for you, there's sometimes you may get sucked into the 3D reality, which then becomes a lesson we're all learning, being sucked in.
Yes, right. Of course, Ellen. Do I get involved or attachment to certain experience? Of course.
So what do you do when you find yourself falling into those traps?
Well, when I experiencing something, let's say that, I don't know, out of friendship with someone, things got out of control, or there was a misalignment that was created. What is important is to learn from it with compassion, recognize the miscreation, and being able to approach in that situation, it's a person, a group of people, or a situation, and says, thank you for the great lesson and compassion, because that just increased on a human level, that just increased my faculties to even better understand the complexity of human connection, relationship, and how also this matrix sometimes can, play little tricks on us and going, you know what, nothing is in vain. The lessons are so great that he brought me and hopefully everybody else involved more light and more wisdom.
Beautiful. That's good. Are these human emotions universal? Compassion, love. I mean, maybe as and are there higher emotions that we have yet to really embrace? Like, let me just tell you, like I use the example of dogs or cats, but dogs are easy. Dogs, I think the highest they get is this pure love, unconditional. Animals have the, but they don't quite have, I mean, be some compassion or the higher levels of love. Is it true that human emotions are common and there are higher faculties, whatever they would be, that we have yet to embrace?
They can serve you very well, as they can serve you to imprison you or to keep you trapped into certain stories and paradigm and mechanism. So the human, what we call the human emotional field, it's a great faculty that you have that is very much sought after or admired or even being curious about by many other groups. We are simply shifted out of these emotional field. We're talking more into, for us, it's more those sacred virtues. Love is no longer perceived in the same perception, the same field as you understand it on a human level. However, they are true premise of great abilities, energy, essence you can extract for your enlightenment. This is why your emotional field has been played on so much. Movies, stories, entertainment industry, videos and all of this, it's all about triggering your emotional level, but it's triggered at a three-dimensional, linear, polarized level. So love becomes conditional. Love is so oftentimes understood as romantic. And if you don't have the romance in your life, you're lacking of something in you. And that's a good example versus universal conditional love that we have achieved, and we're living in that energy. It's more of an essence, an omnipotence, an omnipresence. It's no longer an emotion. See the difference here? And this is why it is part of your evolution.
I think you're saying you've evolved out of the drama of emotion. You're still feeling, and I make a difference between feeling and emotion. Emotions are those recycled things, anger and sadness, and those are dramatic emotions. People think they're feelings, but they're really just can be stuck patterns of emotionality that keep people trapped in a kind of ego identification. I think what you're saying is the feeling sense, which is really also going on for humans every moment. The feeling sense is something we can evolve into. I think you're saying that, right?
Yeah. Yes, your sensory point evolves and more into a multidimensional sensory points. So you're no longer limited by your senses or your emotions as you understand them. You're allowing yourself to move beyond. So again, the word love has been used so much on this planet in novel, romance, movies, stories, the trauma, the wound, the ecstasy. But at the same time, it's still a very limited version of what love as an ultimate substance of all is really about. So you'll understand as you continue, give yourself permission to move beyond the barriers and the limitation of what you think you have known, and allow yourself to really embrace the next level. My team always remind me, Alan, in reality, you really have no idea what your life has in store, because you're here by soul design. You're here by that cosmic design. So when you hear and understand that, it feels sometimes situational. We get caught up in things, and then you go, how? That was interesting. I caught up into a human drama loop. How did I get there? What did I learn? But the team always comes to me, put their hand on my shoulders and says, so dear, what have you learned? And what would you do differently at this point? What is important is to extract the lesson, come with a genuine, authentic self and heart, and allow yourself to move forward with grace so you can continue to shift, evolve, and to the next stage.
I get that, and I've seen you learn some beautiful lessons on your human side, and it was
Indeed.
very feel. So, are these Arcturians, these other beings, these high, are they also in the process of learning lessons, maybe a different level? But I mean, they haven't. They're still looking for experience to achieve something, right? What's curious? What's their process of their soul evolution once you get to a certain level of awakening?
Think of it, Amon, when you reach a certain level, it's more in terms of you maintaining that constant state of grace or that constant state of connection. And then when you look at a civilization, even like the Andromedan or the Arcturians, the advanced Lyrans, you look at the sum of all the archives of the lessons learned, the historical movement, the next level evolution, some of the souls who move on beyond identity. As you said, it's about serving the creator, the prime creator. It's really about maintaining that purity of connection. So for us, we prefer to maintain ourselves in that harmonic field or that constant connection of oneness with each other, with all life, with the multiverse, with creator. We're more in that level. So we have no more any needs to learn from these experiences. We have shifted beyond another level of, I would say, another plane of existence, so to speak. But you'll see step by step, your planet is at a level of such a capital, a vital level of huge evolution, and that matters the most. So as you stay focused on that, with understanding, recognizing more and more who you are as a cosmic eternal being, you start to shift your perspective of how you even perceive your own self every day, your own identity, your own self-worth, your self-love. You're able to, everything will shift and transform in you, and that is transforming realities around you. Now you're unplugging yourself from that, I would say, pre-programmed automatic, movement of living and thinking. You're shifting video games, so to speak. You're unplugging yourself from that.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, in the course or the teaching you're going to give at the Sedona Ascension Retreat, how will we be able to apply these multidimensional cellular expansions into our everyday life? How can things change because we're connected to this more sacred ancestral lineage? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so part of the workshop, the reason why we have chosen or accepted to do a workshop is because it's going to be more experiential. So everybody come and experience in their own field. It's really about accepting this internal communion with yourself and also cultivating higher values, to see also where there may be some restriction, where there's some barriers, limitation, and being able to recognize them with compassion allows you to shift out, to increase your ability to devote yourself to that self-development, spiritual growth. And we're going to also have exercises, and you're going to receive a lot of transmission frequency present, experiential, whether it's physical, emotional, etheric. We always bring an aspect of experiential what we teach, because this way it may be some key you're going to grab and going, that make a difference for me, and that's I'm going to be able to incorporate in my practice, or that aspect. And I'll give you an example. When we were at a Conscious Life Expo, I was on two panels, and after one of the panels, I had two journalists, two beautiful ladies or journalists, who came to me and said, Vivianne, you said something instrumental for me today. You helped me to awaken as a spark just went on. And what you said at that level for one and at the other level for the other one, it's becoming part of their tools. It's not just an experience that feels good for a few days. It's going to start to becoming a part of them, and they can interweave those tools in their reality. And can you imagine with the shifting how they communicate, write articles, be more inspirational, and who knows how many more people they can reach that way. So that's an example of it, how we're going to do this at the beautiful Sedona retreat.
You being there in Sedona, and also you're going to be there with people like Bashar and some of these other people tapping into these higher frequencies. Does it make a difference? I mean, asking the question, I'm getting the answer, that we're all there together in the ability to shift the frequency. The people gathering can shift where our intention is to shift the frequency. I'm going to be emceeing, and that's going to be one of the things I want to encourage and help promote, that the frequency of those gathered will not only help their evolution, but emanate out to other people. Do you have anything to say about that?
Absolutely. Alan, what you're describing is what we call true planetary changes. Because when you take a group, whether it's the speakers and the attendees, and this is together, and we are really for 3-4 days together, really going through a lot of changes, frequency application, we're going to vibrate a whole different level. Not only it's going to affect the environment we will be in, the place we're in Sedona, the grid system of the Earth, but it goes through everywhere around the planet, because we all connected by that unified field. So what we do is that we are shifting the nature of this false 3D illusionary matrix reality. We're shifting its nature. So it's going to be global, planetary, and even more than that. It's going to also emanate beyond the planet in your solar system. And many intergalactics can see those vibrational emanation coming from the planet every time there's such gathering or something major is happening. We can perceive the energy.
Let's not forget to remind people of that. Actually, we're there. And I think the human experience has so much more to explore, and we've been limited maybe by outside matrix, maybe by our own emotional dramas, but we can come into a time where the gifts and the wonder of what's possible and what we have yet to imagine, we can welcome into as more creativity, more joy, more. Those are just words, but I really have the experience of those possibilities in each one of us. Maybe it will be a time to end war, this plague of 20,000 years of humankind, and all the things of a higher society. I'm sure there's no homeless where you're from, right? Or anyone needing food, or if they even eat food. But so we need to restructure what's good, that for all, not service to all, not just service to self, which has been running human processes. But yeah, I think we've made a shift, and we just kind of come into more joy, if that's possible. There's still a lot of old habits that are hanging on. So how do you say we shift as a planetary civilization?
What you just described, Alan, is part of the shift that you've been anticipating. Because when you shift and you made a decision, I refuse to feed, maintain, and co-create paradigm where there are conflict, where there is also suffering, cruelty, and anything that is non-reverence for all life. I choose right here, right now, to be a very powerful, conscious, awakened co-creator And all I do is bring more light, breathe in light every day. When you feel you're retracting in fear, anxiety, you get caught up in a 3D or whatever situation happening, take yourself time to step back, bring yourself back into that 0 point, or what we call the divine neutrality, and feel, I'm going to breathe in light and exhale light. And what exhaling light, exhale out that which has been contractive to you, whether it's a fear, whether it's anger, whether you've been triggered, whether you thought that you were doing something for the highest good, but it created a situation. Allow yourself first to reset. And it sounds very explicitly simple, but the potency behind it is magnificent.
Beautiful. Vivianne, your teachings are evolving even more. And I'm excited that you're going to be there joining a real group of fantastic people and in your wisdom. And, you know, people like Linda Moulton Howe, I think, will really enjoy your wisdom because she is one of the forefront researchers in the UFO field. And here you have a whole bunch of wisdom and knowledge that you could relay to her. And anyway, there'll be lots of great contacts. I'm just going to show that flyer again and really encourage everyone to get your tickets. Suzanne Ross there is the promoter in the upper left. I said Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Anita Morjani. Do you know Anita's work?
No,
Morjani?
I don't.
We had the most amazing near-death experience and has come back to really tell people what's possible, you know.
Yeah, beautiful.
And Matt Kahn is fantastic. Have you been on Ruben Langdon's show?
Yes, extra-dimensional, yes.
So Wendy Kennedy, Robert Gautier, Brad Olson, Maureen St. Germain. Do you know Maureen?
Of course, met many times.
And William Henry and me and the Hurtaks. I think it's a really fantastic gathering of people, and everyone watching is invited to be there. Just get your tickets at SedonaAscensionRetreats.com. That's March 8th to the 10th, and you're going to be giving a special workshop, right?
That is correct. My workshop is on Sunday afternoon. I think it's at 2:15 in the afternoon. And I got something fun about Linda Moulton Howe, who I love and respect. Many years ago, my dear friend, Dr. Stott, who is a good friend of Linda, introduced me to Linda. And in her hotel room here in Phoenix, Arizona, I gave an interview for Linda. And at the end of the interview, she turned to my friend and whispered to his ear, "Who is this woman?" She was really intrigued because my galactic group came and there was this very beautiful, tall, inti beings next to me. And she thought that she was going into her journalist question everything, but we turned the table around and we're the one who were asking her question. And she was very impressed with this. So I saw Linda again at the Conscious Life Expo. She have little memory of this interview, but I always love to see her and you know, to provide energy and wisdom and love, of course. So it was just a little fun Linda moment on that day.
Need what Linda's doing, which is doing this work from the ground up, and then we need from the top down to meet. So we need all of it to be in this portal to ascension, this time of transformation. So I love what you and Peter. Do you want to say anything about Peter's work? Because he's such a genius in his own right. You know,
Oh, thank you. Yes, my husband, Peter Benson, the owner of Energies of Service. Peter has gone through a very logic life too, as a mechanic and an engineer technician working for Intel for 20 years until this awakening came where archangel beings started to communicate to him. And so Peter got very interested into slim splurling work, the tensor technology, and dive into it, study it. But he was under the tutel of Archangel Michael, who turned out that he's a soul aspect of Archangel Michael realm. And so with Archangel Metatron as well, started to bring in these very unique design in the form of a pendant, not a jewelry, but it's an energy tool that is based on the tensor field with configuration of crystal that is given to Peter. And there's an energetic configuration in his pendant that make them so potent. And we're gonna have a vendor booth at Suzanne's Ascension Retreat event in March, and we're the one with our big, tall Nubian copper pyramid. Peter will bring all of his energy tools and inspired. Everything is handcrafted. He spent hours to create them and to energetically attune them. So they're really quite something. So come see us at our booth as well. Thank you, Helen. It's very kind of you.
Course, no, I like Peter, and I was especially happy that he was inspired by a video I did of Slim Sperling talking about the tensor energies, and it's really fantastic. So I recommend coming there. Are you doing any privates there or not so much? Are you doing private readings?
For me personally, I will see my energy level because I'm going to be very engaged with the public and with the panel, my workshop. But people will be able to come and sit in our Nubian pyramid, feel the energy, and especially with Peter tools, you can come, touch, feel it, connect to see how it talks. And I know we talk about it, but I would love to see Peter on your show with you, Alan, and explore his journey.
Yes, let's meet. I see you in Sedona. We'll do that. Yes. I want to thank everyone for watching. Vivianne, what's your website?
Oh, thank you, Ellen. My website is called Infinite Healing from the Stars.com. So Infinite Healing from the Stars.com.
Infinite Healing from the Stars.com. Great. And thank you everyone for watching. This has been a live show, and you're going to also be live on the station in a couple of hours when you go live on the Global World Awakening with a show which kind of recaps our journey in Egypt a bit, right?
Yes, so, with Deborah Justi, yes.
So people can stay tuned, and it's about 2 hours from now, right? Or 3 hours, 3 hours from now.
Yes, depending on what time zone you are, it starts at 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Mountain, and that will be 9 p.m. Eastern time.
So if you want more of Vivianne, and there's so much more to Vivianne, she's on this channel tonight. Subscribe, stay tuned. Thank you, Vivianne. Always nice to, I know there's so much more we can go into, and we will, because I want to have you in my remote viewing where you take us to these other star systems. That's definitely, because it's so great to have a tour guide, because in my remote viewing classes, we go off planet. Once we learn the basics, and once people can really do this, and there's an agreement among what we know, if people are really getting targets, and we go other places and visit other realities. So
beautiful.
Thank you. Hello, Peter, and I'll see you really, really soon.
Yes, big hug to you, Ellen. Thank you.
Thank you. Vivianne Chauvet is the guest today, and I'm Alan Steinfeld. Subscribe, like this program, take out a super chat, and stay tuned for more new realities. Thanks.